Hello, PEI. Welcome to the podcast. This week's episode is one you don't want to miss.
We actually have a set of incredibly detailed notes that summarize a very specific, really intimate dinner conversation. And this dinner was hosted by the creator and producer of our show, Mike Montague.
Right, who also happens to be a local realtor at RE/MAX Charlottetown.
He is. And he sat down with two highly adventurous cross-country filmmakers, Dustin and Emmy.
And to really understand the gravity of the question that Dustin and Emmy asked Mike at this dinner, we have to first understand the grueling rules these two imposed on themselves to even get to that table.
For sure. So Dustin and Emmy run a YouTube channel called Destination Adventure. They're based out of Williams Lake, British Columbia.
Which is pretty rugged territory, right?
Oh, incredibly rugged. For some geographical context, that is a demanding area nestled deep in the mountain foothills along the Fraser River, so they are very accustomed to harsh landscapes.
Right, they aren't strangers to the wilderness.
Exactly. But their current project is this massive self-imposed challenge. They are traveling from one edge of Canada to the other, but with a very specific constraint. They are actively avoiding the Trans-Canada Highway.
Which is just wild to me. I mean, most people with the sheer stamina to drive across a landmass as gigantic as Canada, they stick to the main arteries.
Yeah, you take the easy route.
Right. The Trans-Canada Highway is paved, it's efficient, it has gas stations exactly where you need them. But Dustin and Emmy are deliberately traveling the capillaries of the country. They're taking these remote inroads, the northernmost hinterlands, the tiny logging paths and dirt roads that most of us, only know as microscopic dots on a map, if we even know they exist at all.
And traveling the capillaries means you aren't just seeing the built infrastructure of a country, you are seeing its actual lifeblood.
Yeah, the real people.
You're interacting with people who live in extreme, isolated conditions. I mean, these are truly the bravest Canadians calling these remote villages home. Dustin and Emmy are documenting this raw, unfiltered version of the country that most people will never experience.
Which means they are experiencing intense cognitive and physical fatigue. By the time they arrive on PEI, you have two hardened travelers who have seen the most hidden corners of the nation.
Yeah, they are exhausted.
So where do they finally pause to catch their breath? They find themselves sitting on the patio of the Water Prince Corner Shop in downtown Charlottetown.
After months of dust, gravel, endless driving, and, deep isolation, they are suddenly sitting on this coastal patio with an ocean breeze.
Sounds amazing.
It really does. They are presented with a staggering feast of fresh clams, oysters, scallops, and local craft beverages. It is a sharp transition from gritty survival mode to total indulgence.
And mid-feast, Dustin pauses and asks Mike a question that goes entirely beyond the food on the table. After seeing the vast hidden majesty of the entire country, Dustin wants to know, what is it about PEI that captures the hearts and imaginations of so many people?
It's a great question.
Right. What possesses someone to actually pack up their life, leave everything they know, and permanently move here?
Well, because they are surrounded by the island's literal harvest at the table, the conversation naturally starts with the tangible physical appeals, the things you can see, smell, and taste.
Oh, for sure, the food alone.
Exactly. Mike points out that Charlottetown's food scene genuinely punches way above its weight class.
It really does.
Because you have this immediate daily access to world-class seafood and local produce.
And the geography obviously plays a huge role in those immediate physical appeals, too. Within a very short drive, you have access to just an incredible visual variety.
Oh yeah, the landscape is stunning.
You have emerald rolling hills, the iconic red dirt roads, dramatic red clay cliffs, pristine beaches, and all these charming coastal villages where each one has its own distinct local flavor.
It is a visually dense environment. You can experience multiple distinct microcultures and landscapes without having to spend hours on a highway.
Okay. Every single tourist destination on the planet has pretty views and good food.
That's fair.
If I go to Tuscany or Bali or the Amalfi Coast, I am going to get stunning cliffs and an incredible meal. But a great vacation spot doesn't automatically translate to a place where someone wants to permanently pay property taxes, find a dentist, and enroll their kids in school.
Right.
Beautiful scenery and fresh scallops do not sustain a major life change.
And that is the core dilemma. And what's fascinating here is how Mike answers Dustin's question by pivoting entirely away from the natural landscape.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he focuses on the built environment instead. He introduces this concept of the human scale city.
As I looked closer at Mike's explanation, I realized it is actually a profound psychological framework. So let's break down the mechanics of this. What does building height or street width have to do with my daily stress levels?
It has everything to do with how your brain processes spatial information and assesses threats. When you live in a massive, sprawling urban center with skyscrapers towering over you, your environment is built for cars, commerce, and maximum density.
Right, not for people.
Exactly. Your brain is subjected to a constant low-grade fight-or-flight response. The sheer verticality of the buildings blocks the sun and makes you feel physically insignificant. And the constant noise of multi-lane traffic physically increases your cortisol levels.
Wow, so you are basically a tiny ant in a concrete canyon. The environment itself is actively hostile to the human nervous system. Spot on. But a human-scale city like Charlottetown is the exact antithesis of that. The historic waterfront and the streets are walkable. The buildings are generally 2 or 3 stories high.
So you don't feel swallowed up by them.
Right. The distances between a grocery store, a coffee shop, and your home make physical sense to the human body. Because your brain can easily map the physical environment, your cognitive load plummets. You aren't constantly overwhelmed by scale.
So the architecture itself is lowering the baseline anxiety of the population. That makes so much sense. But it goes further than just feeling less stressed. This built environment actually changes how people behave toward one another.
It does. In urban sociology, there's a concept known as passive surveillance, or having eyes on the street.
Okay, I've heard of that.
When a city is walkable and built at a human scale, people are naturally out on their porches, walking on the sidewalks, and interacting with local shop owners. The community naturally polices and supports itself through simple presence.
So crime drops not because of heavier enforcement, but just because people are around.
Exactly, because the space is occupied by people who recognize each other. Your brain stops categorizing everyone as a potential threat and starts categorizing them as familiar neighbors.
The physical geography literally forces a different emotional geography. Which brings us to the sociological observations. Here's where it gets really interesting. Mike outlines this in his book, What If?, which he wrote over the past winter. Yeah, the book dives deeply into this exact psychological shift that occurs when you move to an environment that isn't actively straining your nervous system.
And Mike notes a slower, gentler pace of life. Usually people dismiss that as an island time cliche,
Yeah, like everyone's just moving in slow motion.
Right. But framing it through this lack of mainland social strain changes the meaning entirely. It isn't that people on PEI are moving slow, it's that they have shed the transactional nature of massive cities.
Let's explore that. The shift from transactional living to relational living. In a metropolis, your interactions are largely transactional. You interact with a barista merely to get coffee. You interact with a driver merely to get somewhere.
Everyone is just a means to an end.
Exactly. You are rushing, and other people are just obstacles in your way. But on PEI, because of that human-scale design and the lower cognitive load, interactions become relational. Strangers nod and smile, not because of some antiquated politeness, but because the community is lived.
It's an active practice.
Yes, it is an active daily practice, not just a buzzword on a real estate brochure.
And that lived community ties directly into a specific phrase Mike uses that defines the quality of PEI: unconditional mutual respect.
See, on the surface, that sounds like a nice generic platitude. I help you shovel your driveway, you help me find my lost dog. But when you apply it to the concept of public space, it becomes a really powerful social mechanism.
Think about how public space functions in a dense, anonymous city today. It is often incredibly isolating. You put your headphones in, you look down at your phone, and you build a defensive bubble around yourself because the sheer volume of strangers is overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. I do that all the time in the city.
Right. You are coexisting with 3 million people, but you are entirely alone.
Coexisting versus belonging, that's a huge distinction.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, unconditional mutual respect means that public space on PEI is truly shared. You are integrated into a social fabric.
And crucially, Mike notes that this mutual respect acts as a buffer against the intense polarization we see elsewhere.
Yes. Political and social differences remain minor disagreements rather than instantly divisive, community-destroying conflicts. You have to look your neighbor in the eye at the grocery store, so you treat them with baseline dignity, regardless of who they voted for.
That forces a level of authenticity, doesn't it? For islanders who have moved away, coming back is a return to their roots. But for newcomers, This environment of mutual respect offers a rare chance to drop the armor you had to wear in the big city.
You shed external expectations.
Exactly. You can actually reconnect with your true self because the environment feels safe enough to allow it.
And this shift from isolated, defensive coexistence to genuine relational belonging is why Mike frames PEI as an antidote. It is an antidote to the chaos of modern life. It cures a very specific modern type of burnout that comes from being constantly connected digitally, but entirely disconnected physically and emotionally.
We have built up an incredible picture of this emotional oasis, and I think everyone listening wants an antidote to modern chaos. But, you know, I am cynical by nature, and I have to look at the mechanics of how this works in reality.
Fair enough.
Because peace of mind usually comes with an exorbitant price tag. If you want a walkable, safe, beautiful, architecturally human-scale community in almost any other part of the world, you are paying a massive premium.
Oh, huge. It becomes an enclave for the ultra-wealthy.
Right, so how does a regular person actually afford to live in this utopia without going bankrupt?
Well, this is where Mike's professional perspective as a realtor grounds the philosophical conversation in hard, pragmatic reality. The magic of PEI isn't just in the scenery or the psychology. It is completely intertwined with the economics of its housing market.
And everyone listening knows that home prices across Canada have become completely detached from average incomes. I mean, it's a defining economic issue of the decade.
It really is. Comparatively speaking, PEI still offers significantly more bang for the buck than almost any other major population center.
So what does this all mean? Well, I like to use a metaphor to explain this. Instead of viewing affordability as just extra money in the bank, let's look at it as a pressure release valve.
Okay, I like that.
Because if your mortgage in a massive city requires you to work 60 or 70 hours a week just to survive, you are living inside a pressure cooker. Your cognitive bandwidth is entirely consumed by financial survival. You literally do not have the energy to participate in a lived community because you are exhausted.
Yeah, you're just running on a treadmill.
Exactly. But by moving to PEI, leaving that expensive urban home and freeing up that capital, you open the pressure release valve. It's like a work-life balance cheat code.
You are literally buying back your own life. You are buying back the hours in your day, and you are buying back the mental energy required to engage in relational living.
Yes, you can afford to go to the Water Prince corner shop and have those scallops.
Right, you can afford to stop and talk to a neighbor because you aren't sprinting to a third job. The economics allow the sociology to exist.
And as Mike laid out this entire framework at dinner, the human-scale architecture lowering stress, the unconditional mutual respect creating belonging, and the economic reality making it accessible. Dustin and Emmy could only sit there and nod in agreement.
And honestly, that reaction is the ultimate validation. We have to remember their baseline. As documentarians running Destination Adventure, their entire job is to scrutinize the hidden corners of the country.
Right.
They've seen the reality of small-town struggles, rural decay, and the intense isolation of the hinterlands.
They are completely immune to marketing fluff. They have earned their perspective the hard way, through thousands of miles on dirt roads. So when seasoned travelers like them recognize the palpable, unique magic of PEI, it confirms that Mike's analysis isn't just local bias.
Exactly. The effect is real, and it is objectively distinct from the rest of the country. If you love authentic travel storytelling, checking out Dustin's channel, Destination Adventure on YouTube, is a must. They capture the essence of Canada in a way most of us will never witness.
True.
And exploring their journey alongside Mike's insights really brings this whole deep dive into focus. People don't uproot their lives just for red dirt and good food. They do it because the physical environment, the social fabric, and the economic reality all align to offer a fundamentally healthier way to live.
It is the complete package. It is the antidote.
This raises an important question, though, something for you to mull over after we wrap up today. We've established that PEI's greatest allure is the sense of lived community, unconditional respect, and a human-scale approach to life. But is that effect strictly bound by geography?
That's a great point.
Or is it a mindset you can choose to adopt? Even if you don't live in a walkable coastal city with affordable housing, could you start cultivating that gentle, authentic, neighborly rhythm where you are right now?
Can you choose to shift from transactional interactions to relational ones?
Exactly. Can you practice unconditional mutual respect in your own community tomorrow?
Our thanks to Dustin and Amy, and of course to our show creator and producer Mike Montague of RE/MAX Charlottetown for sharing his experiences this week, along with his perspective of beautiful Prince Edward Island. Get out there and enjoy the PEI summer and all it offers.